I knew the evening was going downhill the moment the spoon slipped from my trembling hand and clattered against the dinner plate. The table fell silent, painfully, sharply silent, until my son's wife, Alia, leaned back in her chair, crossed her arms and said, loud enough for everyone to hear, "You're a disgrace to the family, Dad." The words sliced through the room. My grandchildren froze. My son looked down at his plate. And me, I simply inhaled slowly, letting the insult settle on the wrinkles of my 82-year-old skin like dust on an old shelf. But I didn't say a word, not yet. My name is Abdul Rahman, though these days everyone calls me Grandpa. Not with affection, no, that disappeared a long time ago, but with a tired sort of obligation. I lived with my son Haris and his family since my wife passed, but in truth, I existed like a quiet piece of furniture, acknowledged only when in the way. Over the years, my hands had begun to shake, my hearing had softened, and my steps had slowed. Maybe that's why Alia looked at me the way she did, like I was a burden she never agreed to carry. But she never knew me when I was young, strong, respected, needed. She only saw what I had become. The dinner table was set beautifully that evening, gold-rimmed plates, cloth napkins, fresh naans steaming in baskets. It was Alia's special family dinner, something she claimed she organized to bring everyone together. But when she snapped at me, there was nothing together about it. Even the walls seemed embarrassed. I glanced at her. "Disgrace," I repeated softly. Haris cleared his throat in warning. "Alia, that's enough." "No, let her speak," I said. She pushed her chair back slightly and pointed at my hands. "You spill everything. You break things. You forget everything we tell you. Every day I have to clean up after you like you're a child. This house isn't a nursing home, Dad." I heard a small gasp. My youngest granddaughter, Maha, only 10 years old, her big eyes filling with tears. "And that did it." Not the insult, not the humiliation, not even the anger in Alia's voice, but the sadness in my granddaughter's eyes. I straightened my back, the way I used to when I wore my crisp uniform decades ago. "Let me tell you a story," I said. "You speak as if I have never cleaned a mess in my life," I began, my voice steady. Everyone looked up, confused. "When I was 24, I continued, I was deployed for disaster relief in a village swept away by floods. For 3 days and nights, I lifted broken beams, carried children on my shoulders, and pulled screaming families out of collapsed houses." Alia blinked. She had never heard this. "In another year, a fire broke out in our military barracks. I ran back inside 3 times, pulled out my best friend, then my commander, then a boy so young he still had milk teeth." The table was silent. "And when Haris was born," I said, "I worked double shifts for months, slept 3 hours a day, not because I was a disgrace, but because I was determined that my son would never grow up hungry." My son's eyes filled with sudden, wet regret. "But time," I lifted my trembling hands, "has its way with all of us. No one stays strong forever," I said. "One day Haris may shake like me. One day you may forget things, Alia. And when that day comes, I hope someone shows you the gentleness you forgot to show me tonight." Alia's face turned pale. She stared at her hands, speechless for once. I took a deep breath. "But let me tell you what disgrace really means. A disgrace is not someone who grows old. A disgrace is someone who forgets the people who raised them." Haris shut his eyes. Alia's chin quivered. "And as for spilling things," I said, "yes, my hands fail me. But I spent a lifetime using these hands to protect this family, to earn for this family, to raise this family. If they tremble with history." No one spoke for a while, not even the children. Finally, Haris stood up, came to my side, and knelt beside my chair. I felt his head rest against my arm, the way he used to as a boy. "Dad, I'm sorry." Then, to my surprise, little Maha rushed over and hugged my legs. Alia hesitated the longest, but when she finally stood, her voice cracked. "I didn't know," she whispered. "I never asked. I'm ashamed of what I said." I looked at her gently. Asking is how we learn, listening is how we grow. She wiped her eyes. Please give me a chance to do better." From that night on, the house changed. Maybe only a little at first, a softer tone, a kinder question, a chair pulled out for me at the table, but small changes have a way of growing into big ones. Alia began to sit with me in the evenings, asking about my memories. Haris made time to walk with me after dinner. The children begged for stories of Grandpa the hero. And for the first time in years, I felt seen, not as a burden, not as a problem, but as a man who lived, fought, loved, and endured. I didn't need an apology. I didn't need praise. I didn't need a medal for the life I had lived. I just needed my family to remember that old age is not a disgrace. It is a victory.